I'd like to take a second to thank the folks from Jinko Fishing for not only bringing you Low Budget Live, but bringing you low lifers. Sweet deals at jinkofishing.com. All you got to do is use code LBL25 and you will get 25% off of everything on jinkofishing.com. Like the creature weights, the bird creature bait that catches those spawners right now. Maybe you need a high roller rod. Maybe you need one of those Deceiver Savant swim bait rods like I've been chucking them glides on lately. It's all available at jinkofishing.com. LBL25. Hang the banner. Express Boats, that Bassmaster Classic winning aluminum bass boat, and they just took a third place there with their new XR21 and Lee Livesay at that Fort Worth Bassmaster Classic. One of the finest rigs you will ever get in, fastest hole shot in the game, 96-inch beam, C-deck bow to stern, more tackle storage than you can shake a stick at. Don't just take my word for it. Go to a dealer, check them out. Maybe you need an H20. Maybe you need an H18. Maybe you need an X19. A boat for every budget and every size that you might need. Express Boats, building excitement since 1966. Damn these
Biloxi blues, it happens every night. And I ain't never met a riverboat dealer that could ever be a friend of mine.
Nope.
The summer heat never treats me kind, it leaves trouble on my mind. So I'm bidding farewell, putting in my notice, and I'll see you at another time. This highway does not know my name, and I don't care. No, I don't care.
Nope.
Heading my way for another place, and I got 3 good tires and a spare. Just a white line gypsy getting out of Mississippi with just enough gas to get there.
Low Budget Live, the not so live variety from the Low Budget Live Bar and Grill, presented by Jinko Fishing here in stormy old southern Middle Tennessee. It has been a week. We have lived under tornado warnings. We ain't been getting much sleep around here. That siren's been going off. The phones have been going off. And holy cow. Now we're dealing with some flooding. It's been a wild ride, like so many of y'all. If y'all are listening in the Southeast, thoughts and prayers to y'all out there that are dealing with this a lot worse than we are. We've had some communities in Tennessee, especially right here in southern Middle Tennessee, they've just been all but wiped off the face of the earth. So many folks hurting, so much flooding and damage out there in Arkansas. I mean, so many things going on. Mother Nature has been on a roll here lately. And last night we had 3 tornado warning storms in a row, back to back to back to back. It was insane, an insane night. And look, lucky. Nothing happened down in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, Florence, Alabama, right across the line from me there. They had a monster tornado that luckily did not touch down when they thought it was going to in that area. It did do some damage, but man, it could have gone right through the heart of downtown Florence, Alabama. Just terrifying stuff going on. And Mother Nature always wins. And so thoughts and prayers going out to you if you're dealing with that, if it skins you up. Man, it is certainly scary in a blink of an eye how things can go. And I did some traveling this week, calling on customers around the state of Tennessee, and I was out there in it, man. I felt like I was in the movie Twister, not the new one, okay, not Twisters, Twister, all right, with old what's his face in it and what's her face, you know, when the flying cows. That's what I felt like. Dorothy. I felt like I was dropping old Dorothy off to get some better research data. It was crazy, man. Absolutely crazy. Watching the radar and trying to figure out where you can go and not go. And phew, it was definitely a week. So thoughts and prayers out to everybody that have been impacted by that, because it is no joke. There's no doubt about that. Bassmaster Open, perfect segue. Talking about crazy weather, that one division of the Opens, out of a 9 possible competition days, 9 possible days, they fished 4. Rayburn, they had wind. Kentucky Lake, they had wind. And now they've had everything from hail to wind to floods to floating debris to, it was insane. at Lake Norfolk out there. Mountain Home, Arkansas is all but underwater. All the small towns in northeast Arkansas that are on a river are just dealing with horrible, horrible flooding. I've heard there's a lot of pushback from people. I've not really been on social media a ton in the last couple of days since the cancellation happened because I had my first weekend at home in about 5 weekends. So I have been hanging with the kiddos, hanging with the triple threat, and not hanging on social media near as much. But I have heard through some buddies, and Marissa was scrolling, and she said they were getting lit up. Bassmaster was pretty good for canceling the event, having a 1-day event. And I get that people spend a lot of money to go to the events, and if I was in the event, I'd probably be upset that it shook out the way it did. But everybody that I have talked with that was actually in the tournament, between social media posts I've seen, when the first day got canceled, they're like, absolute great decision. I saw a lot of that after that first day. I guess it was Friday that they made the call to cancel that second day. I saw a lot of guys posting that day. And it's just a shame that people have the mentality that Bassmaster wants this. I don't necessarily agree with everything Bassmaster is doing these days, obviously, but it's not something they want. Trust me. They want to get all them competition days in. They want to cover these tournaments. They want to give everybody the best opportunity to compete for the spot in the EQs that the top 50 will get in this division. And they fished 4 days out of 9. Now they're going to take this huge gap and wait till August to wrap things up at Leech Lake. That's the only thing I'm really disappointed in is, why not have a May or June tournament, kind of spread these out, not try to cram these in the first 3 months. Now, look, they got a lot of tournaments going on. I understand that between opens, between the nation, between the elites, there's a lot of crap going on. Fully get all that, and scheduling is a nightmare. But that big gap in the year, maybe you could have avoided some of this. That's my only criticism, really. It's 3 tournaments trying to shove them in there. And then you had Clarks Hill the same way. It started out, I think it was a 2-day event, right? Because of snow at Clarks Hill. It's been a crazy weather year. No doubt about that in the Bassmaster Opens. But I think they're doing the best they can to make the best decisions. That lake came up 8 feet overnight, debris everywhere. I have dear friends that live in that area, and it was said that they had between like 14 and 20 inches of rain, something crazy like that. Of course, tornado warning storm after tornado warning storm. The guys had hail in practice, crazy conditions. It's been insane. Lightning. So just absolute devastation out in that part of the world. And we don't need to be having a bass tournament. And that's the decision Bassmaster made. And congrats to Casey Scanlon, my old buddy from the FLW Tour. Casey's a great guy and a deserving champ. He's a former FLW Tour champ, and he will represent in the Bassmaster Classic in Knoxville. So congrats to Casey Scanlon. Bassmaster just going through it, though, man. Bassmaster's definitely going through it. It is April, as you know, and we have that day like this week. You have April Fools, right? On first, everybody's making their posts. And there were some good ones. There were some good April Fools posts out there, good April Fools jokes. And now we're going to talk about the Fools of April. Because the Fools of April are alive and well. The first Fool of April being Captain Brock Horner. So many of y'all probably seen this viral video, him jumping in the boat with a young man, threatening him. Guy was a psycho. Absolute nut job. But I just have to say, he's been arrested now, and I think justice has been served. The internet justice. I've not seen anything like this since the weights. We got weights and fish. People that don't even fish been sharing this. I mean, it's everywhere. It is everywhere. It's crazy. My wife asked me about it, and then I had to look it up. Hey, have you seen that? Like, what? It's everywhere. My kids have been out, and they don't keep up with anything in the fishing world. And they're like, have you seen this, Dad? Craziness ensued with old Brock, and he's a Florida guy. He's a Florida guy, and the other April Fool of April, that could be, I guess, on his charter boat captain team now because he quit the Elite Series, Scott Martin. Let's see. Hey, he took his ball and went home. I know a lot of y'all probably tuned in to hear the take on this today. I'm going to say this first before I get into this. Got a great guest today, the one and only Lee Livesay. We recorded a few days ago. We've been trying to line up to do a podcast for a while now. And the day we recorded, the rumor was actually going around that Scott Martin was going to be DQ'd that day. It would be announced he would be DQ'd. I actually received a text from a friend of the gentleman who had been, a Facebook message from the friend of the gentleman that Scott had the text exchange with that led to all of this craziness, and kind of broke that to some fellow fishing media folks that had not heard that yet. And of course, it has grown from there. That is for sure. Wild situation. But I say all that to say I don't want anything to take away from the Lee Livesay interview. Loved getting to talk with Lee. The timing of this episode is obviously, I could do an hour on all this craziness. I'm not going to, though. I'm not going to, out of respect for Lee. And we'll get to that interview here in just a minute. Now, here's my take on all this craziness. My mother had a saying in life. If you've listened to this show, I've been doing for so many years now, you've probably heard me say this, but you can't win a puke fight with a buzzard. You know, you ain't going to out puke a buzzard. And meaning you're not going to change somebody's mind that is so devout in what they believe about a person, about whatever it is. You're not going to change their mind. So I am not here to change anybody's mind today. Not trying to do that. I really don't care. At the end of the day, I don't care. You have every right as a human being to believe what you want to believe, to think what you want to think, to like who you like, to pull for who you pull for. That being said, I've said on this show before, and I got killed over it by a certain fan base, don't take everything at face value, okay? Don't take everything at face value. And sometimes you shouldn't meet your heroes because your heroes might not live up to what you think they are behind the scenes, okay? This deal is one of the more spoiled brat, entitled decisions I've seen in a minute. It's the easy way out. It's a way to, in the video, Scott's video, he said there's too much negativity in fishing, blah, blah, blah. It's a way to create a lot of negativity, which he's going to do for Bassmaster. He's already done, I'm sure. I haven't really looked at comments, but I'm sure I can guess what a lot of them are. I would say there are a lot of people that don't buy it as well. But again, I'm not here to change your mind if you think that Scott Martin is full of integrity. Okay, I'm not. I'm just here to host a show every week that I've hosted for a long time and give you my opinion because that's what I do on here. Okay, I don't give them to you because I think they're right. I give them to you because they're mine, and I enjoy getting them out of my head. So this is definitely selfish. It's definitely crazy. It is. It's behavior that, to me, and I've made a lot of mistakes, and I'll make some again. And I'm not saying you're not allowed to make mistakes, but I think when you make them and you don't own them, that's a huge character flaw. It just is. And that doesn't speak to integrity. Going back to the Okeechobee thing, he made a mistake. There's video evidence of the mistake. He got DQ'd over the video evidence. Now, Bassmaster really stepped on their own feet by parading him out, letting him cry on camera, letting him get his daddy up there, and trying to save face because those fan base, the buzzards, sorry, if you're a Scott Martin fan, you're a buzzard in this scenario because you can't win a puke fight with a buzzard. They paraded him out because of the backlash. Once the announcement went out, he was being DQ'd. Now, I would say that Bassmaster would have rather have done anything than DQ Scott Martin at Lake Okeechobee. I get it. He's the prodigal son of Lake Okeechobee. But they did it because they had to. They had no choice. He says he self-reported. He did not. That has been documented. I've talked about that. We don't have to go over and over and over that again. He did not self-report. That's not true. It's a lie. It's a lie. They let him lie on camera. So they're in the wrong here as well. Okay. Now, that being said, fast forward to this deal. Last fall, Scott Martin was texting a gentleman from North Carolina. And one of the oldest tricks in the book in bass fishing and professional bass fishing, I've heard it with my own very ears, with regards to the no information rule is if you have a tournament, say, Tennessee River guy, Pickwick, Wheeler, Wilson, wherever. So say the tournament's on Pickwick and you can't fish Wilson or Wheeler. You might call your local buddy and say, hey, man, if you were going to go down there to Wilson the first week of March, what would you be looking for? Winky, 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 elbow, elbow, that kind of thing, right? So that's how this conversation starts. If you were going to Pinawawachi Bayou or something crap, I don't know. Something that would fish similar to where they're going, okay? Knowing all along what you're fishing for, what you're digging for, okay? It's intent. Again, it all comes back to intent. That's shady intent, okay? Living in the gray. And this conversation goes back and forth. Well, that area he asked about ended up being named by Bassmaster as part of the massive playing field in North Carolina where they're going this coming week for the Elite Series. Practice is going on now as you were listening to this, okay? So they go back and forth. And then there was an exchange where this gentleman from North Carolina asked Scott if he knew anything about Kentucky Lake. And to my understanding, allegedly, Scott gave him some waypoints for Kentucky Lake and explained they belonged to an Elite Series angler he had filmed a show with. Again, this is information that I have. That Elite Series angler was then alerted because he knew the guy from North Carolina, turns out. And that Elite Series angler then protested Scott, which Scott mentioned an Elite Series angler protested over this because you cannot barter. Can't solicit, you can't trade, you can't barter, you can't purchase information. So it could be said that he was indeed trading. That's something I've heard of in the past for him and other anglers, right? And again, there's always, I think if you interviewed every Elite Series competitor, with the exception of a very small percentage of them, they would tell you they probably wouldn't trust a lot that Scott said in that video. And I've heard from a bunch of them. My phone's been lighting up. And again, I've been trying to hang with the family and all this has been going on. Also, in full disclosure, I will throw this out there, just kind of a sidebar right here, is Scott tried to call me Friday night. And he also texted me. I have no desire to talk to Scott Martin. Okay. And here's why. Scott was trying to control the narrative. He had called several other people that had texted me that day to tell him he was going to make this announcement, trying to tell him that Bass was on a witch hunt, that he was going to make, this video, and that he was refusing to take their poly, that he had taken his own polygraph. And the reason that I have no interest in hearing from him on this is because I do feel like I know a lot of the facts. I do know a lot about Scott that I've known for very many years. And I had him on the podcast one time, the year we all decided, I say we all, several of us, myself, Todd Castledine, Bradley Hallman, Andrew Upshaw, Brian Latimer, we decided to leave FLW over the MLF thing, right? It's all well documented in my history. If you don't know it, go look it up. And I kind of went toe-to-toe with MLF there for a minute over my opinions. And I was very unhappy that FLW sold to MLF. And Scott was one of the most vocal when we had meetings about it in the entire FLW tour. Couldn't stand it. Couldn't stand the thought of being around Boyd and crew and didn't think that they were running a good business and all these things. Like, I heard it out of his mouth. And the narrative, we were going to do a podcast. And right before we went to record, he called me to ask me everything that I was going to ask him. He wanted me to state it. I've never had anybody do this. Is 300 and however many episodes. I've never had anybody do that. Okay. I never had anybody do it. And I almost just said, we're not going to do the interview. And instead I went through with it. And this was, again, this is 6 years ago. Right. And then he said he didn't want to bash MLF because he was going to be PC, one thing off camera, one thing on camera. And he didn't want to say it. That was why he was leaving. He didn't want to say it. The story came about that he was going to avenge his daddy for never winning the Classic. And it was just beautiful story, right? And then he rolls through the Opens gets by with a little help from his friends, local friends on every body of water, and gets through the Opens, gets the last slot. And so there he is in the Elite Series. And it hasn't been easy for him. And I really did think that he was living, for the most part, in the straight and narrow, and had kind of gotten past some of the crap that you heard when you were around the FLW tour, as much as a lot of us were in regards to Scott. There was always a lot that you heard. And the reason I say that is because he was having a tougher time competing in certain events, it would seem. So I did think, man, he's kind of turned over a new leaf. And this year he's on the bubble for qualifications to requalify, right? So if he has a bad year, he doesn't get back in the Elite Series, okay? A lot of people, I don't think, realize how quick that can happen in the elites, the way the format is now. And you can get booted pretty quick. And the way I understand it, the way it's been explained to me, right there on the edge of that. So desperation, maybe, because it is a big deal. It's a big deal. You're essentially losing your tournament career. That's all you've wanted to do, right? It's all you've done for so many years. And you could be, and obviously Scott's very successful outside of that. He's very smart. He's got his YouTube stuff going. He's had his TV show for years. Like he's a successful guy. He doesn't need tournament fishing, but it is something that is a very large part of his career for his sponsors and different things, right? It's obvious. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal. I've had friends that have been on that bubble before, and it's terrifying. It's terrifying if that's all you know and all you want to do, right? So, and all you've known, tournament fishing's been his entire life. Is what his dad did. So the Okeechobee DQ happens, throw that tournament out the window, looking pretty grim for requalification, because that's a big shot. That's a big shot across the bow right there of your requalification. Now, fast forward to all this text message deal. Bassmaster calls him out on it, and they wanted him to take a polygraph in Birmingham, Alabama. And I'm sure by now so many of y'all have heard this because a lot of people have talked about it. And they want him to take a poly, and he takes his own in Florida, refuses to take the Birmingham, Alabama Bassmaster polygraph because he says he doesn't want his integrity questioned. He doesn't want his integrity questioned. There's a lot of things going on, and he has tried to paint this in a way like it is a witch hunt. Again, like I said, that's been the narrative that's getting spun out there, is that Bassmaster is out to get him. Somebody's out to get him. But he made the mistake. Mistakes plural. He's not taking ownership of his own mistakes. So says he's going to provide his own polygraph, which is the equivalent in life of your job calling you and saying, we're going to do a drug test tomorrow. We think you're a meth head. And you saying, oh, that's cool, and bringing your own piss cup from home. That's your buddy's clean pee. I mean, really, like it is that. That's a joke. Like it's a joke. You can't, that doesn't work for anybody else, but he thinks it should work for him because he's entitled and he's a spoiled brat at the end of the day. And that's how he's treating this entire situation, very selfishly, right? Get caught with your hand in the cookie jar and get the cookie jar slammed on your hand and immediately start screaming at everybody that was around that caught you in the cookie jar, right? It's that kind of thing. And knowing what he's doing, this negativity he's running from, he's going to spend more time with his family. He's going to retire because they had a conversation at the Bassmaster Classic that he was going to retire. That's my opinion, but I don't think this is my opinion, but I don't think that was the case. I don't think Scott Martin was going to retire. If Scott requalifies, you never hear about any of this, obviously, if he doesn't get caught. But he's taking his ball and going home, and he's showing his ass, and he's showing it in a very selfish way to his fellow former Elite Series competitors because they're all lined up, strapped up, ready to go this week. And most of which have a lot of integrity, actual integrity, and most of which probably aren't sad to see him go, but hate the way he left. And what that means is left them with a lot of drama coming their way from grown men and youth on YouTube alike, wearing Scott Martin visors and T-shirts that are coming at Bassmaster that don't understand. Change the rules, or Scott's got more integrity in his pinky than you do in your, whatever. Those kind of comments. Just Bash and Bassmaster are certainly on the way. They're going to have an event. They're going to make a lot of posts this week, and I'm sure these people have nothing better to do than be negative on the internet and defend someone they don't know. He did wrong, okay? He made a mistake. He broke the rules knowingly multiple times this season. Period. It's that black and white. It's that black and white. The information rule is hard to police. Thank God somebody talked both times, because there's a lot of this crap that probably does go on that we don't hear about other than whispers, right? So I'm glad he got caught. You know, I don't dislike Scott Martin. People have said that. Scott and I can be cordial to each other. This isn't like a personal attack necessarily. This is just me giving you the facts. Like, this sucks. And, you know, I'm sure he'll be just fine. I'm sure he will be just fine. The YouTube crowd will carry on. The tournament career is over. At the Elite Series level, who knows? Who knows what's next for Scott? But again, I'm sure he'll land on his feet. But understand, this is not a witch hunt by the Bassmaster organization against Scott Martin, because witch hunts don't start with you getting a slap on the wrist, even though you got DQ'd, but getting rolled out, getting bailed out, getting to do the PR tour, getting to cry, getting to lie to people on live about how you self-report and how the whole thing. I don't even remember the incident, all the things, just like on the video of, I don't even know this guy. And the video started with, well, I text this buddy, but then 3 minutes in the video, I don't even know this guy I was texting with about North Carolina. You know, I don't even know. This is slapping my face. Integrity. So much integrity. Okay. But witch hunts don't start with that. They don't start with the PR tour that Bassmaster gave you. Witch hunts don't include getting a camera on the first day of the Bassmaster Classic for no reason other than Bassmaster trying to save face with the SMC fanboys. Period. End of story. You know, they didn't give a camera to a guy like a Carl Jacobson that spent 6 years on Ray Roberts, living out there in that area, man that came from Australia, man that brought a ton of Australian fans to the Bassmaster Classic this year. You don't give a guy like that a camera, or insert various other positive figures in the sport's names right here. You didn't do that. But it's a witch hunt. They did that 2 weeks ago. They did that. So don't buy it. Don't buy what he's selling. It's fishy. He's running from the damn truth. He was going to be disqualified. He can't pass that polygraph in Birmingham, and he knows it. It's dead to rights. He knows it. So sometimes you just got to take the L. And I think the difference in a man and a little boy, a little spoiled boy, is a man just owns it and moves on. Again, I've made mistakes. I'll make more. I'll wake up every day hoping I'm a better me than I was yesterday. A lot of days I fail, but I try to own it. I try to be real. I try to own it. And I think that's what you got to do in life. So this is a huge L for Scott Martin, in my opinion. And I know a lot of folks won't see it that way. And again, I ain't trying to win a puke fight with a buzzard. So another thing about this situation is he did this during Redcrest, MLF's biggest tournament of the year. The folks at gillfishing.com want to keep you dry when it's raining on the water. They want to keep you warm when it's cold, and they want to make those summer days a little bit more bearable with some of the most amazing outdoor gear in the industry at gillfishing.com. And they want you lowlifers to save some money. So you can use code LBL20 at gillfishing.com to save you some money. Try it out. You will not be disappointed unless you leave it in the truck like I just did, and you will get a wet butt when your Apex is sitting in the Chevy. Pro Guide Batteries, ProGuideBatteries.com. The folks at Pro Guide have been in the battery game for over 40 years. They are trusted by multiple bass boat manufacturers, and that is a big stamp of approval. They are not a fly-by-night company. Their lithiums are amazing, their AGMs, and their lead acids, and they've got their new charger line. Go check it all out, ProGuideBatteries.com, and use code LBL10 at checkout to let them know you are a lowlifer. Baitworks.com, bait-works.com, the exclusive online home of this little critter right here, the LOB Power Finesse Jig. It gets lots of bites. It's got that 3/0 trocar hook in it. Finer than frog hair skirt material, and it does just what it says. It gets lots of bites. You can use Duncan-10 at checkout to get a break on them and most things on baitworks.com, Duncan-10. And last but not least, I'd like to thank the folks from Old Boy Outfitters. Go check them out. What's up, Old Boy? Get on their website. If you're an outdoorsman, you like to wear your heart on your sleeve like I do, go grab you a hat, go grab you a shirt. Let people know you love the outdoors. Old Boy Outfitters, you can use code OLDBOYLUKE, O-L-E, Boy Luke, at checkout to let them know you're a lowlifer. Now, let's get back to running our mouth. On Saturday, and it's just, this is what the bass fishing world's been talking about, of course. And that sucks for those guys that made the top 10. A lot of good dudes in the mix over there. Shout out to Dustin Connell for winning the thing, and my boy W, Wesley Strader. Damn, he took it to the limit and almost won the stupid thing. It was freaking awesome. The last hour, that was a lot of fun to watch. Me and the Triple Threat and the kids were gathered around the old TV watching the W try to chase down DC. Such a crazy game plan for the insane weather they've had all week, but it was a damn good tournament. Not sure about the expo. I didn't go. Heard it wasn't just jam-packed, but no surprise there with the weather that we had, and that thing's not been crowded since it started. It's just it is a sad deal for them. That's me not taking a shot. That's reality. Like, it's just kind of weird that people don't show up. And I did hear from some buddies that went that said it was kind of pitiful. And for me, I wanted to go. It's an hour and 15 minutes down the road, but like I said, 5 weekends straight on the road. I got this weekend and next weekend that I'm home, and I decided to spend it with my family. And I'm sure I missed some folks going to Redcrest, but it is what it is. Sorry, Boyd. Maybe next year. He invited Slick Johnson to the damn Thunderbolt Ball. Dude, he invited Slick to the Thunderbolt Ball. Can't invite me. Thunderbolt Ball. Come on, Boyd. He did. Slick and my buddy Goob was the +1 for Slick, and apparently Slick survived. I saw he made a video about it. So there you go. That's going on. But no, I thought it was a really cool tournament. I thought Redcrest was cool, despite the Scott Martin announcement being right on top of it and distracting things. But Redcrest was pretty daggum good tournament. Guntersville, let's just talk about that real quick for a second before we move on. Guntersville is without a doubt, I'm looking at all you other lakes right in this camera. Guntersville is the best lake in the country, period, end of story, as far as catching bass consistently, catching big bass consistently, and absolutely taking a beating, a monumental beating every day. That lake is incredible from one end of it to the other, as those guys showed this week. So congrats to DC again, number 3. He's won 3 of those back to back. It's just so stupid. The boy is something else. There's no doubt about that. All right. Speaking of somebody that's something else, I was able to catch up with this dude, like I said earlier, a couple days ago. Really gotten to know him through the Express Boats family in the last couple of years, and I'm a fan. The guy's an animal. You don't want to get in a big bass fight with him. There is no doubt about that. He's a very honest individual, likes to kind of tell you exactly what he thinks. And I'm glad we got to wrangle him up here for some Low Budget Live. Ladies and gentlemen, just coming off of a 3rd place at the Bassmaster Classic, Lee Livesay. All right, as promised, here he is. I finally wrangled this man up and he's hard to wrangle. And if you get a hold of him, man, he's probably gonna get the best of you. Lee Livesay, what's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Luke?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm glad we're finally getting to chat about all things. You've had a pretty damn busy year so far in that XR21.
Yeah, man. I had a great year so far in the Toyotas and the Elites, and the Classic. We're just getting started. We're about to go on our biggest stint of the year. At the end of this week, we'll do 5 and 6 weeks. That's a big chunk of our schedule right there. Which one of those is a Toyota? But fishing good, man. Fishing good.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask. I've asked the guys. We got Hackney and we got Christy and Gerald, and some of those guys are fishing both, right? MPFL. You're choosing to fish the Toyotas, which you've always mixed some of those in. Do you feel like you fish better fishing the most events that you possibly can cram into your schedule?
Yes and no. Not the most. I don't want to fish another 20 or nothing, but I wanted to fish MPFL. I've been very vocal about that the last 3 years with you and Brad, everybody over there. It just logistically didn't work with the schedule, me being on where I'm at. So I just decided to jump in the division of those Toyotas. MLF has a great, or the Toyotas have a great championship, $200,000 in the fall if you qualify, no entry fee. So it was just a no-brainer with 2 of them on Rayburn and 1 of them on Eufaula, Oklahoma. So yeah, just jumped in those just to give me some extra fishing in. I've had Lane's 3 now. She turned 3 Friday already, which is crazy. But so I've kind of just stepped back the last 3 years and just fished just the Elites and the Classic, obviously. So I'm kind of to that point where I'm jumping in a few more extra tournaments every year.
Yeah, to mix it up, and you damn near won that Toyota. The last one you were in down there at Rayburn, you came out with 30-something pounds the first day, something crazy.
Yeah, we weighed 34.11 the first day.
Excuse me, 34.
Yeah, it was a crazy tournament. Cody weighed 36 the last day, which was crazy.
Unbelievable.
30 every day until the last day. It was actually a crazy tournament. Not a lot of people talked about it. I think I weighed 35. Cody weighed 36. Dakota weighed 30 twice. Riley weighed 30 at least twice because he won. Todd weighed 30, won one day. It was crazy. I caught every single fish on the Humminbird Mega Live too the first day. Also, I get a lot of questions about how the Mega Live is, and I caught every single fish on it that day.
That's awesome, man. I talk a lot on the show about 30 being the new 20. Actually, on this past week's episode with John Cox, he was like, yeah, man, I do all I can and I catch 18 pounds and it's not good enough anymore. And 18's a good bag, right? A lot of places y'all go 18, but anymore, these weights just keep going up. Now in Texas, I feel like you've always seen 30-pound bags for the most part, especially a place like Rayburn that's just loaded with big ones. But what are your thoughts on that? Do you think we are seeing more 30 bags now than ever before?
Definitely. Forward-facing sonar has definitely elevated the game over the last 3 years, but you're just now really seeing it kind of in your area, Pickwick.
Yeah.
Guntersville, Chickamauga, places like that are just, getting, and where we're about to go, the Chowan River, you saw the BPT guys last year. And with forward-facing sonar with fish that have, not saying they've never been caught, but surely there was just a very niche of anglers doing that over there before that. So it's definitely raising the bar. You got to catch them. The Classic last week, I figured if I weighed 23 a day, I would have a shot to win the Classic, and I was close to 23 a day, and Easton beat me by like 10 pounds. So it's definitely a changed game.
It is, man. And finding out where these fish have been living or how we can catch them, right? Like maybe we always knew they lived in certain areas, but they were hard to approach. Now with forward facing, you can. Cox said that too. He said he had like 23 and 22, and he's like, dude, I'm in 7th after this thing is over with. He's like, it's just so hard to keep pace. Does that frustrate you though, as a veteran pro? Because like you said, you use your Mega Live. You're obviously dialed in with it. Y'all all have it. Does it frustrate you, or is it kind of like a tip of the hat to Easton? Because I know you respect Easton, but is it frustrating to have that kind of weight gap that somebody is that dominant with it?
It's just part of the game now. Just like I led that Toyota and had 35 doing the same thing, on a different lake, obviously, different stuff. But I caught them all utilizing it there. And I caught them at Ray Roberts with it in practice. Me and me and Easton started right beside each other the first day in a different area, and I was utilizing mine. It was just really tough that day. Easton only had 5 bites in there. I bailed on it probably about 9 o'clock because I only had 1. So just hats off to Easton. I mean, I was trying to do it too, just same thing. Trey, I thought I could win where Trey got second out of. I just, when you're an angler, and I'm in my 30s and I act like I'm 60. Just, I know so much, like me and, Cox ain't going to do it, but I still, I'm not biased either way. I'm going to use it when I need to and think I can win. And I thought I could win Ray Roberts with it. I just bailed on it early, but I know a lot of other stuff is what I'm getting at. I know how, I've won out of the grass before. I've won off rock piles before there. I won a belt there 2 years ago. Out of the grass, and it's just hard when you're like not getting bit doing it to not go do something else. How I know I can get bit, and guys like Easton and Trey and whoever else was doing it, they just do it all day long. And eventually it's kind of like bed fishing or throwing a big swim bait, eventually they know they're going to run into 4 or 5 of the right ones. So it's not frustrating because I still feel like I can win doing my deal. And at the same time, I feel like I can, just like at Rayburn the other day in that Toyota, I feel like I can win doing it.
Yeah.
Just got to work right. Hats off to Easton and Trey. I was literally 2 bites away from winning the Classic fishing grass, or Easton not getting 1 bite or 2 bites. You know what I mean? So it's just a tool, and you got to know when to use it or when you want to use it. And it is what it is. Obviously I'm still competing with it and without it.
No doubt. And I think that's why I hate the negativity about it so much, is because it's available to all of you. You've got a choice now. Look, it's just like deep diving crankbaits being available to everybody when David Fritz was on his runs. You know what I mean? Like, somebody's going to be a little more dialed on a certain thing. And obviously these young guys are, but I think all the hate towards Easton has just been so crazy. And I blame you for it, frankly. I'm obviously kidding on that. I blame Randy Blockett. I blame Randy for it. No, but so many people, dude, they're like, we want this, by God, Texan Lee Livesay. Like, you're a man of the people. You're like John Cox. People love them some damn Lee Livesay. So I think you are a little bit to blame. They're like, who's this northern kid? Get his ass out of here. Look, they wanted Livesay on top, man. You are a man of the people for sure.
That's good. I'm glad they were rooting for me.
They were, dude. They were.
I like them in my corner. And the Classic week's crazy, and we had a great week. So I have not got to look at any comments or any of this negative. I hear about it all, but I don't know if they were mad at Easton or mad at me or mad at Ford Facing or what, but hats off to Easton. He found the juice, Easton and Trey were, I have more knowledge of Ray Roberts than anybody in that field, for sure. Not that I'm a local there, but I've won major tournaments there. And I told this to Brad Watley yesterday. 13 of the 15 fish I weighed in that Classic, I'd never fished that area before. That's stuff I found in practice, went through the, different grass, different year, different stuff. I hadn't been there since that belt. So it changed a lot, but I felt like I knew where the best forward-facing sonar little bitty deals were. And it's exactly where Easton fished and caught them in 2 different areas, exactly where Trey caught them in a different area. And Milliken caught a big bag within eyesight of me and Easton too one day. So those dudes it's not like it's as easy. They put the trolling motor down in the dam and just catching these big bags. They are finding the juice in a massive lake, and then utilizing it in the wind and everything else that they're good at, changing baits. So big props to all those guys that did it. It's not like it ain't easy. They're finding the best stuff on the entire lake and catching them with it.
And you mentioned the wind. I'm still mind blown by some of the videos I've seen from practice, and then the wind y'all had during the tournament. Like, that don't make any of it easy, whether you're winding a chatterbait or whatever. Like, but especially when you're trying to open water fish, like, it's damn near impossible in that kind of wind.
Yeah, and I think that hurt a lot of people. That's why I chose not to fish offshore. And shallow stuff offshore. But a lot of our bags that time of year, there will come shallow rock out there. Man, I'd caught them in practice out there and thought I could catch 30 plus out there, but man, it blew so hard and it's not easy out there. And I really felt like I could win doing what I was doing, and it just didn't happen that week. So the wind was brutal. Like
there.
That probably limited a lot of our forward facing sonar guys that are really good to not doing it, because it messed them up all practice and they just never got the confidence in it, you know? So it was definitely, it blew every single day.
Oh, like I said, the videos were just insane. Then I was out there, obviously, for the classic. Like when we were doing our deal Saturday night, I mean, it's gusting. Like, how in the hell are these boys even fishing? And that place looked like a damn ocean from the videos I saw in practice.
Yeah, that first day of practice on that Friday, it was it blew literally like 60 to 70 mile an hour gusts just straight down the pipe. So it was an adventure for sure. They had a damn search party for me because I was, you know, we can fish till 30 minutes after daylight, which is pretty much dark. Yeah. And I came in at the very last minute because I was trying to look at as much as I could on the first day because I knew that wind had pushed a lot of the guys off. Like, you know, Caleb was back at the house at 3 o'clock, you know. It was brutal, you know. I mean, guys were breaking stuff that don't know how to run the timber and stuff like that. You know, I was lucky enough to know how to run everything before I got there, obviously, so I could kind of slide around. And I really looked at everything I could the day the wind blew because you wouldn't be seeing me, Joe Lee wouldn't be seeing, you know, just part of my game plan. So I got back to the ramp, like right, you know, at the minute that I can get back, and it's pretty much dark. And there was literally like a cop, game warden, 10 locals. They thought that my trailer had been there by itself, you know, for hours with nothing else. And they thought I was lost at sea like Pickwick that time that the flood hit. And I was in that tornado. So
I remember that too. I was going to say, this is not, you're a repeat offender, dude. That's not the first time I've heard that about you.
This was the second search party for sure.
I do remember.
Wouldn't nobody put the damn boat in the water to come find me? I know it was blowing that hard. They were just going to tell everybody I was lost.
Lee! They were just yelling from the river, Lee! Well, we don't know. We're giving up. Somebody call his family. That is insane, man. I got to ask you this, and just to get a good old sponsor plug in, but how did the XR handle all that? I mean, it was crazy.
We were talking about that yesterday I was at Chris's house, and it wasn't just right. Yeah, it blew 80 and 70 and I got around just fine. But like I fished the St. Johns River was rough as hell. If you ran across George, like it blew really, really bad one day. We had, 4 and 5 footers on George. I fished 2 Toyotas on Rayburn. You saw the first one, it snowed and blew 30 out of the southwest to the west. That's almost as bad as you can get right there. And then obviously that other Toyota on Rayburn was just as bad one day. And then I've had it in just about as the worst conditions you can have it in already, besides Lake Ontario or Champlain. And man, it's been great. I go anywhere I want to, anytime, any lake, any river, 100 miles, foot deep, 100 foot deep, doesn't matter. That's what I tell people all the time. It's a lot bigger boat than everybody realizes.
Yes,
we're 21-foot boat, 93-inch beam. It's gigantic. So like that's what I tell everybody. I go anywhere I want to, and I can get shallow. Like I found some stuff at Okeechobee in South Bay that, I mean, the YouTube video is coming out end of this week, probably Sunday. You'll see I catch like 100 bass literally one day. I found this deal. I sucked the first day. All these fish on these flats, they disappeared. It got real windy and bad. I floated in this thing of reeds, like super shallow, like that deep to get in. I barely got in it, and I catch like 100 bass back there. Well, there was these shiner guides like trying to get in there. Like they could hear me catching them back there. And I ended up knowing one of the guys that guides, and he hit me up after the tournament and said, "Hey, dude, how the hell do you get, he told me, he said, "Man, I was catching those fish a couple of weeks ago back there. I can't get my boat in there now." And I was like, "Man, I literally caught like 100 bass. I could have caught more." It was a lot of little ones, obviously, but he told me like I cannot get my boat to those fish, and that XR, that Express, even though it's a big boat, it floats so shallow. And I never even skipped a beat, got on back there and just murdered them. So it's an awesome boat. It really is. I love my boat.
Well, and I can't wait to get an XR at some point. I know you guys are guinea pigging them right now, but I've said that since the beginning. I will take it anywhere. And again, it's a lot dang bigger boat. People, you get the aluminum boat folks that say 10 rig. And I'm like, listen, That thing's anything but that. It's a gigantic freaking boat. Sometimes it's too big. When you get around docks, I've never ran a 21-foot boat much in my life. I was always like a 20 guy or even a 19 growing up, 18s. You get in between docks, it's a damn barge sometimes. It's a big freaking rig.
Yeah, no, it really is a great platform. It really is. And now we have a 50-gallon. Every XR after mine will have a 50-gallon tank in it. So
yep,
that's what people say. Man, does it have a 30-gallon tank? Oh, no, it's got my boat has a 47-gallon tank because it's the first one besides the prototype ever made. But every one that will be produced to the public will have a 50-gallon tank.
Well, like you said, you were fishing the Classic, getting to get to watch coverage. You didn't get to keep up with comments and all that kind of stuff, as you shouldn't have been because you were dialed in. But what I got to do was be in the express booth a ton. And man, I got to tell you, we did a podcast over there, but just standing with Rory and Bobby and the crew and what's Lee got? Man, what's Lee got? Like pulling, it feels like you're pulling for the home team. And it was the same way I got to be around him when Jason won the Classic in a damn express. And dude, it was so cool. And you being in the mix, it was just awesome for all 3 days, seeing those guys. And actually that was a question I asked Rory when we did the podcast in the booth there at the expo. I'm like, how does it make you feel to have a dude like Lee representing your company as great as he does, but then in the biggest tournament in bass fishing, he is in the mix in this new boat. And man, you just see him like beam with pride, like it's one of his kids. Like it is just, I just got to pass that on to you. Cause man, that stuff you just can never take for granted. Like they got your back, and I always say that on the show when I do an ad read, like they are like family. They're great people, but man, just seeing that, you're like, damn, it's so cool to see people pull for a guy like that. It was awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a family ran business. You know that. Obviously, we got a tight knit group of guys and I'm killing it, man. I mean, Bill won the first one.
Yeah, what a year. Yeah.
I mean, hell, I was in second in the first one. The first day, obviously, until I decided not to catch a bass. So I mean, the new boat's killing it for sure. Love the whole team we got right now.
Do you think that Caleb will win one this year?
I think the one we're going to next, he has a really good shot. That one and the Sabine. He's due. Caleb's due.
He is due. That's what I was getting at, man. He has been damn close, and he is due. And I'd love to see. And dude, at the Classic, he seemed like he was feeling it. Like all his posts after practice, I was like, dude, this might be Caleb's week. It just kind of had a different feel to it. And I hope he gets him one this year. That way we can stop giving him all the shit that we give him.
Yeah, once I mean, he could get scary if he wins one. He's that close to getting confident running with it. He's I'm not very diverse. I mean, I am, but Caleb will do everything in the tackle box in one day. I don't know if that's good or bad, but Caleb is good at everything. He can catch them shallow, deep, scoping, he's all over the board. So once it clicks with him, he could get scary.
Oh, no doubt about it. And he's just a damn fish catcher. I mean, he does the saltwater thing. He guides, like he's always smashing. So it's just a matter of putting the pieces together on the right week. You know that better than anybody. And I do feel like Caleb is way overdue. I can't believe he hasn't won one yet. And I know he probably feels the same way, I'm sure, but I hope it's this year. Yeah.
Confidence is king. Once he gets that rolling, he's going to be good.
Did you that happen for you when you won your first Elite? You're like, oh hell, we can do this. That just rolls
for sure. And you make mistakes. That was the only year I didn't make the Classic when I won my first one, but then I won like 3 more in the next 6 months.
Yeah,
with an Open. So it just confidence is king, and you learn. You know what I mean? It's just not learning on how to catch a bass, or you learn not to do stupid shit.
Yeah.
Honestly, you know what I mean? You can't be doing this and run 80 miles away and try to do something, you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them. And you kind of learn on just a mental game more than anything on what to do and what not to do is the biggest thing with confidence, obviously.
Yeah. It's got to be a big boost. I talked to Lowen a little bit about that too. Now he's got his second one. It's like, you just want more. He did say, though, Billy said this, and I thought this was interesting at the Classic. He's always been one of the most consistent dudes, check getter, Classic maker, for years in his career. And he said he felt like winning did screw that up for him because then all he wanted to do was just swing big every time and kind of abandon what made his career. And I thought that was an interesting statement that I'd never really heard anybody make. He's like, yeah, I do feel like it screwed me up.
Yeah, I could see that, for sure. You get a little taste of that blood and you roll it.
That's exactly right. Something else we've got to blame you for, Lee Livesay, is all this pink. This damn pink, you've ruined it for us that have always liked to throw a little pink around. Now every Tom, Dick, and Harry is going to be slinging pink all the time. Yeah, there you go. You and your flush, damn it. It's so funny. My buddy Ryan Engelman, I texted him like 2 weeks before. I'd just gotten some of those jackhammers. I'm like, dude, get you some of these. I've been catching some of them. Like, order you some of these. These are really cool. And I'm like, I'll be damn, Lee. and now they're sold out everywhere. You're to blame with your flush on the back of it. And talk about I guess now the cat's out of the bag. Talk about the importance of pink and why there. And I have heard over the years that pink definitely plays on Ray Roberts because of water clarity and things. But what's your take on why it is so deadly?
Yeah, I mean, they honestly eat it everywhere I go. I mean, Florida to New York to where you're at to where I'm at, literally everywhere. Whether it's a pink spinnerbait, pink swim jig, pink buzzbait, pink fluke, pink trick worm, I throw it all. I mean, I really do. I've caught them all over the world on it. But Ray Roberts, definitely, I've got a lot of history there throwing pink stuff. Just got a kind of a weird little pea green. It's dirty, but it's not really dirty color. It looks really good. I mean, that setup I had with that jackhammer, I think they call theirs Morning Dawn. Maybe it's pink.
Yep, they do. Yeah.
And with that 6 cents pink flush, it looks amazing. It looks like a gizzard shad in there, just a little brighter, and it's time of year too, that when they're pre-spawn like this, man, my biggest thing is I want to fish to see my bait, see it. Like, I'm not trying to be all sneaky and match the hatch, that's why Fire Crawl was so good when it came out. That's why Chartreuse and White's so good. I want them to see it when I'm throwing a reaction bait, and I caught fish every day on the flush, just weightless too by itself. A couple of my big ones, actually, I weighed in on the second day, came on it just weightless, but working it real high in water column, real erratic. I just want them to see it. That pink stands out. Same thing. I mean, we've been throwing pink floating trick worms for 40 years. Right. So it ain't nothing. It's just nobody's seen it in a jackhammer or in a chatter. We were spraying white ones just with pink dipping dye. And then I actually saw that color came out last year. It was like an exclusive color. I think it came out with the flat matte black ones. And I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's Ray Roberts right there. And I ordered, like 10 of them and put them in a bag, just a Ziploc bag, and never opened them up until the Classic. And I called 6 Cents couple weeks before the Classic to my buddy Coop at 6. And I said, hey, dude, I need a special run pour in the flushes. I love the flush on the back of a chatterbait because it's a little bit bigger.
Yep.
It's straight tail, so it hunts really bad instead of a paddle tail. Just what I like when I'm around bigger fish. I said, I need a pink flush made. And he was like, for real? I said, yeah. And I need you to not tell Ben Milliken, not tell Tracy, and not tell Corey Johnston. And he was like, for real? And I said, yeah. If anybody finds out, and sure enough, like the next day, 2 people at 6, what the hell is this pink? And I was like, what the fuck?
Like, yeah.
But it was just Zach and Coop. They didn't tell any of the other guys. And obviously I showed the world the first day. So Corey and Ben were over there going through my boat the first day of the Classic because they heard about it. I actually saw Ben the next day on day 2. I could see him throwing a pink chatterbait from like a mile away. And I was like, yes. He didn't catch anything on it, but it's just a deal. I've caught him on it at Ray Roberts in the past and all over the place.
Yeah, pink. I've growing up, my favorite thing ever is a floating worm. Man, it's just such a fun bite. Grew up doing it. Bubble gum, obviously, always the deal. And I've been up north. I've truly been to a Walgreens and got pink nail polish to paint spooks and paint. I mean, whopper ploppers. Like I've done it, and it does catch fish all over the place. Obviously smallmouth like that, those big loud colors too, but around the spawn, I'm with you. I've been to Lake Cumberland when it's muddy. Pink spinnerbait, dude. Pink old Stan Sloan will smoke them. But yeah, I was a little disappointed to see the post about the pink. I was like, damn it, Lee. And then I see the 6 Cents boys make a post. They're like running just this crazy amount of flushes in pink. And I'm like, here we go. That flush, when they first came out with that, it is, I know it's a great chatterbait trailer, but dude, just weightless. That is a killer soft plastic jerkbait. It is really good.
It really is. It has these, so everybody, and this is just a little backstory on this bait. I don't even know what I'm doing here. So we have a 7.2 inch one. It's a great big one. And when I first started with Casey, this is before, and I'm kind of putting this 2 and 2 with the Sakamata shad, and you'll understand with the story. So I went to Casey when I first got with Casey, because I was catching them on a Magnum Zoom Super Fluke at Fork, like July and August, when it gets really, really hot and those fish will suspend like 15 foot down and like 40 and 50 foot trees. And people like Late Mark Pack, guys like that showed it to us, like, like they were counting weightless soft baits down there and working it through it. And that's what I was doing. And I was, this is before I fished the elites. We were throwing a Zoom Magnum Fluke, counting it down, catching these giant, 40 and 50 pound bags out of trees late in the summertime when you couldn't catch them on hard spots or anything. It was really hard to catch, and just murdering them. Well, I went to Casey and I said, because we had the flush out, I said, I need a big flush, but I need it weighted. And this is before I even knew what a Sakamata shad was. The world didn't know yet. It was like 2 years before the world knew, and it was before we know now, obviously. But so we weighted the 7.2. So you see, we have a weighted winged 7.2 inch flush, and everybody thinks we knocked off the Sakamata shad because the wings and the weighted. That was something I did almost 10 years ago now, 7-8 years ago now. I just didn't realize what I had. This was before forward facing sonar. I was just throwing it out there on really big line, Texas rig, weightless, counting it down in the trees. And now, turn over 7 years, guys are throwing 7-inch Sakamata shads on little bitty jig heads with forward facing sonar and catching fish out there suspended in the middle of nowhere. And it's just kind of funny how the tables turn and how you see stuff in the future that you were this close to figuring out. You just didn't know.
You had lights in the bottle and didn't realize. Yeah.
So that's actually a really good story on the bigger flush, the 7.2 flush that I weighted 7 years ago, and I was catching suspended fish out in open water on it, Fork. And now we see what we mean.
On the weighted side of it, is it just a different formula in the plastic, I guess, that makes it just a heavier weight plastic?
Yeah, they just put more salt in it. Okay. Is the biggest thing. Now we're taking it and moving the salt around in the bait, because the 7.2, this one is a great forward-facing sonar minnow, one of my favorite ones that doesn't get talked about because the Aussie and, all the baits that we have with it at 6. But I still throw this one a lot, just the small one. But the 7.2 is awesome, and we're moving salt content around it, and it makes the bait really, really
roll
without having to make it roll. Not saying exactly where the salt is, but you will see the 7.2 flush really shine at some point in time this year. I don't know what tournament. Maybe it's Trey, maybe it's Ben, maybe it's Corey, maybe it's me, maybe it's you. I don't know, but it's an underrated bait that we've actually had out for years and years and years now, doing certain things with.
Well, I bet while we're recording this, Josh Jones probably just caught a 14 pounder on it somewhere.
Yeah, he will catch. He's a animal, and I don't know Josh that much, but I'll be like, "You caught him on a what?" Like, hold on, I don't even have that on what chick did. So,
yeah, he is. I've gotten to know Josh this year a little bit, and he is an animal is a good way to describe Josh Jones. He is he's a different breed when it comes to thinking about bass and how to catch them, and as far as just the techniques, man. And I know and he'll admit, he's like, without forward facing sonar, I'm a nobody. He's like that. He's like, I give all the credit to it, but I think he probably gives it too much credit, to be honest, because he just thinks so outside the box about big bass. But yeah, I've had some conversations with him this year where I go, holy crap. You're scratching your head when he'll like throw you a little nugget every now and then. You're like,
mm-hmm.
Why did you
Kyle, because he fished with Kyle Hall a bunch. He's with and I don't know, it was either 6 or 12 bass they caught yesterday over 12 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. It was either 6 over 12 or 12 over 12 yesterday. Kyle.
Obnoxious is what it is. I'd say it should be illegal. I'm going to get on the interwebs and comment negatively about those guys catching way too many giant bass because it is just ridiculous. Speaking of the negativity, so as a man that makes his living in this space at the tournament, at the top level, and there's just, man, there's so much toxicity right now from the fans, whether it's about whoever's coverage, whether it's about forward-facing sonar. I hate that people are saying cheater box. I hate that term because if you're a common person that doesn't keep up with our sport and you happen to tune in and you see those kind of comments, you're like, wait, are these guys cheating? You know what I mean? Like you could take it the wrong way. I hate that. But what do you think about all the negativity in a sense because I do feel like it hurts things, right? It definitely can. Impact your ability to make a living.
Yeah. I mean, me and yourself and I texted a little bit yesterday, and I'm not going to say exactly what my text said, but it said, I like my job. Like,
that's right.
People quit screwing up around me. You're making us look bad. And that's all over the board. That's a lot of it's forward facing sonar, obviously. Whether you're for it or against it, it's here. Just the heat that Easton just took in the Classic. I feel bad for him, man. Easton's obviously a great angler, an insane angler. Big shout out to him. Congrats, dude. So I just hate that, kind of not saying it ruined it. He's got $300,000 in his bank account. Didn't run it. But, it just dampened it a little bit. So just that and some of the rules violations we've had over the past year with some guys, but it's a good thing that Bass is tightening it up. That's what everybody's like, oh, it's going to give us a black eye. And I'm like, yeah, but it's tightening the ship too. Trust me. I can tell just being around the guys, everybody's tightening it up, and that's a good thing. Not saying there's, 1% of the guys have been cheating for 30 years and it'll always be like that. You just got to have the rules the best you can to catch them. And hopefully this is going to tighten the guys up. I mean, no matter what it is, whether it's snapping your life jacket before you go, putting your kill switch on, getting information inadvertently, advertently, whatever it is, it's good for us to have a little black eye to tighten up the rules stuff the way it needs to be to make it the most even playing field that we can get. So I think it's a good thing on that side of it. Now the forward facing sonar stuff, man, I don't know if that'll ever go away unless they ban it or do half and half or, I'm a huge advocate of doing half and half. I like some of the stuff that Major League Fishing done with their periods. I think it could be an easy solution to go do half and half, whether it's half the tournaments with it, half without, or half the time with it, half without it. I don't know. So I like my job. I want everybody to shut up and just fish.
Calm down. Man, you know what I hated that you had to say it like this, but like saying we're going to get a black eye a little bit from people being busted for breaking the rules. And you saw so many people pissed, especially about the Scott Martin thing the first time. And I think we should never look at it like that. Like y'all are the top of the top of the top of the top of the food chain. I don't care if it is a life jacket infraction. We had a guy at an MPFL that on camera asked for information about how his buddy was doing, and he was DQ'd. And people were like, "You guys are weak like Bass. This is crazy." It's a rule infraction. If you
that's a rule infraction that y'all had enforced a couple years ago at right here by my house.
Right, Patman. Same deal. It was the exact same.
It ain't nothing new.
No.
And I don't think I don't remember that guy's name that got DQ'd for that. Skeeter.
Yep, Skeeter.
I don't think he was doing it purposely. He was just trying to be just a talkative guy, and it just happened. So, I mean, there's inadvertent and advertent, like I said, but it's going to tighten the ship.
No doubt. Sometimes you got to rip it down to the studs and rebuild, right? And I think there's been enough that has gone on in every league over the last few years that I think it's good. And like you said, it's 1%. when I make that statement, it makes it sound like it's half the guy. It's not. It's a very small percentage of people looking for an advantage, but the playing field does need to be even. It has to be. It has to be.
Yeah. No, it's a good thing. I kind of feel like is what it is. Like Bass needs to tighten the ship a little bit, and they are. Fines, DQs, everything. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Even little stuff, whether it's like I said, a life jacket or no wakes.
Yep.
And, I think the world's kind of liking it too. I mean, there's a lot of people talking crap. Don't get me wrong, but that's just the internet nowadays. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I think everybody's kind of liking it.
Yeah, I think it became, a buddy of mine said this the other day. He said it became cool to bitch. And I think once people are like, oh, well, I get more attention if I say something negative on this post. People like my comment or they bicker back and forth with me. I think half the people that say the things they do, I don't even think they mean them. I think it's the same with people that say stuff on TikTok that make video. I saw so many, Lee, you saw there were a lot of people in Fort Worth. There were. I know it was maybe not the biggest classic of all time, but damn, there were a lot of people there. I was there all 3 days. There were a lot of people there. And I've seen so many people make videos going, I think Bassmaster's done. I was at the classic and there was nobody there. And I'm like, hang on, man. And I've commented to them, and I rarely do that. I'm like, were you at the same deal I've been at for the last 20 years straight? Because I've been to all of them. And there's only like one out of the last however many years that I thought was a bad one. That was Houston. The crowd was off in Houston. I will say that. Like, it was probably the worst one I've ever been to. But Fort Worth was a good crowd. I also think that having weigh-ins in arenas like we always had, it takes a lot of damn people to fill up an arena.
Well, I think that just, man, when you're driving that far from a lake and you have so much live coverage, yeah, our weigh-in crowds are going to be down a little bit unless it's something just directly adjacent to the expo, adjacent to, like something like Knoxville when it's all within a couple blocks. It's just so hard to get 50,000 people from the expo and the hotels here to wait for 3.5 hours when we're driving fish back, when everybody already knows what we already caught for the most part.
I agree.
Within a couple of ounces, and except Patrick. So it's just, it does hurt our weigh-ins. And I think some of that we need to cut down logistically. Some of it we need to cut down, our actual anglers weigh-in. And some of it, you just can't help. The logistics with putting on a show like that with Bass is just insane. You have no idea. You have no idea until you get behind the screens, until you get behind the bleachers. And it's just thousands and thousands of people doing all kinds of stuff constantly. It's just I have no idea how they do it. Like, I'm not smart enough to even theorize it. It's insane.
The average fan has no idea what it takes to pull that event off, man. And they got a lot. And really, I think they do it with a smaller crew than it's even imaginable, to be honest, as far as just Bass staff. Like, there's not as many actual Bass boots on the ground, I feel like, at that event than it takes to pull it off. And I don't know. I think we live in a world too, Lee, where everybody wants things fast, right? Like, we swipe through TikToks all day long that are 30 seconds long or whatever. Like, our attention spans are short. So to ask people, especially in a town like Fort Worth, and I said this on the show last week, to sit at a weigh-in for 3 hours, especially if you've gone on vacation to Fort Worth, dude, you won't be down there down Billy Bob's. You want to be eating at one of them steakhouses, at 7:00 at night. You're going to be down there, listening to some damn music or something. And I think that's, especially in a town like Fort Worth, I think it makes it even that much harder to hold people's attention because there's a ton. It's a cool city. There's a lot going on. Yeah,
that's part of it, especially if you want to have a beer, you got to leave. You got kids and you want to go eat, you're going to leave. You're not going to sit there for 4 hours. So that's right. I talked to multiple people at the expo, from Rory and Bobby with Express to fans to my family, obviously. And they all thought it was great and packed and plenty of people. And, when you have an expo that big, it just spreads everybody out. I heard companies had a freaking killer expo, multiple different companies. So
it was a good one. It was a good expo. It was good. And that's why I say my original point was, I think people just think it's cool just to be negative sometimes, because I've seen several videos like the Bassmaster Classic was the worst thing I've ever been to. I'm like, give me a freaking break, man. If somebody
we're watching, as long as they were clicking on that website, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's
exactly right, buddy.
That's what's hard to hold them, when we can watch it on our cell phones walking to the stockyards. So
Exactly. Or the low budget live that we did down there. That was a good damn time at Birdie's Social Club hosted us down there. We were just outside the stockyards. That was a cool place. And we had a lot of fun too, hanging with the folks. And there's just always like Fort Worth, like trying to plan my live podcast. There's just always so many live events going on. There's so much live music, even whether it's locals or a touring act, like there's something going on there every 5 minutes. It's like Nashville, man. There's just a lot going on. All right, we're gonna end with this. You've got this crazy 5-week swing coming up, and it ends with a couple places near and dear to your heart. One of them is damn sure near and dear to your heart. Lake Fork and the Sabine. Are we going to see another one of them blue trophies on Fork? Are you choking up on the bat twice? Already thinking about it? Like, where are we at with that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly not even thinking about those two yet, just because I've got the Pascatank,
whatever it's called.
I really love places I've never been before and didn't even get to pre-practice. So I've never been to Eufaula, Oklahoma either for bass for that Toyota. So I've actually got two. I got my eyes on the ones I've never been to always. So I'm really looking forward to the Albermine Sound, Pascatank River, that whole system right there. That's an unknown to me. And the last Toyota on Eufaula should fit my style. And obviously Hartwell, I've been there before a couple of times. And then once we get through with that, then I kind of like it that I'm fishing because Eufaula is up till the last day before the practice day at Fork. So I won't be thinking about Fork. I'm just going to show up and go through my stuff. So it's probably a good thing not to sit here and think about it. Now the Sabine, I want the Sabine bad. I want a trophy down there too. So.
Okay.
We'll see.
Okay. Well, there's, an Express is one down there before. No big deal. Mm-hmm. No pressure. And I feel like you'll dang sure be in the mix. And Caleb, I feel like is always in the mix down there. He had a heartbreaker a couple years ago down there, losing one or two on a buzz bait that last day. So I look forward to it. There's something about you in these, when it comes down to, I said this about Jason Christie when he won at Santee Cooper. I joked in my post about him. I said, you don't want to get into a knife fight with this man in the swamp when a spinnerbait battle breaks out. And I feel like it's like that with you. When it's a big weight tournament, they're going to catch them. You're going to be in the damn mix, man. And do you think is that the Lake Fork in you? Or is that just the by God Texan? I mean, you don't shy away from them.
No, it's just kind of that, foot on the throttle, or foot on the throat, whichever one you want to look at. It's just, I'm not going to hold anything back anywhere I'm at, whether it's the Sabine catching 12 pounds or Fork catching 42 pounds. It doesn't matter. I'm going to catch every single one of them, I hope.
Every damn one of them that bites. Lee Livesay, you're the man. I appreciate you joining me, buddy. Thank you so much. Lee Livesay, everybody. Well, that's all she wrote with Lee Livesay, third place at the Classic, thinking pink. Selling out all the pink everything in the United States right now. You can thank Lee for that. Appreciate him taking time to join me. And like I said, we recorded that earlier this week before all of the Bassmaster insanity that has happened. But I wanted y'all to be able to catch that interview, some good stuff in there. And so I wasn't going to Lee took time to do that. I could have just done a solo rambling episode about all the things going on. And I did before Lee ever got on, but I want to give Lee his time because we've been trying to get together on a podcast schedule wise for a long time and finally made it happen. So shout out to Lee for taking the time, and shout out to y'all for taking the time to watch it and listen. Appreciate each and every one of you. Going to take you out with some Biloxi Blues. We've got a lot of things going on, man. We got MPFL. The second MPFL is coming up next week. So the next podcast you hear, I'll be talking about that, I'm sure. Getting ready to go to North Carolina for that deal. And in the same week, I've got an Alabama Bass Trail. So no big deal. Pulling double duty here next week. So thank y'all for tuning in. We will talk to y'all in just a couple days. If this works. Biloxi Blues. See you.
Couldn't make it last. Spanish moss and Civil War ghosts, well, I'm gonna leave them in the past. Any direction, Lord, I'll be fine. It don't matter east or west, north, south, wherever the wind blows, I'm leaving those burdens at rest. This highway, it does not know my name, and I don't care, no, I don't care. $20 and a spare. Just a white line gypsy getting out of Mississippi with just enough gas.